Hi and welcome to another Fantastic Ideas video. In this video I'm going to remake both of my tables that are in the van. I'm going to make them both look the same. So as you can probably tell, the old tables, they didn't match at all. The little table was kind of just a very temporary table just to prove that it kind of worked over there. So I made it out of a couple of bits of old scrap wood, and I just had like a push fit table leg. And it's all right, but it doesn't sit in there very well. So I'm going to make it slightly bigger, but the main thing is I'm going to make them both the same so they match. I do like this big table. I think I tried to find another vinyl wrap that was the same, but I just couldn't find that. So I'm just going to go with a plain gloss white. And yeah, I'm hoping that it's going to turn out okay. So let's see how I did. So as you can see, the old tables, they're looking a bit scabby now. This one especially, because I just, like I say, I built it out of a couple of bits of old wood just as a temporary fix, just to see how well it worked. Now as you can see, I've kind of got these, the edges are just kind of a live edge, so there's no trim on it, because I don't like a trim on a table because it usually catches all the dirt and water. So I've got this 18mm plywood from B&Q. It's not the best piece of plywood I could have bought, to be honest with you, but it'll do the job. So I'm just laying out the old tables so I can get a good measure for what they are. The actual widths were pretty good actually for the old tables. The little table was the perfect width, so I'm just kind of going to cut that one first. So I'm just kind of marking off that one. So I'll decide the length of this little table in a minute. But first, here's my new toy. It is a brand new table saw. This is by Evolution, and I have to say, very impressed with it. You don't need to have a table saw to do this job. You could do it with a jigsaw or or even a handsaw if you wanted to, just a normal saw. But yeah, it does make life a lot easier. So yeah, I've been very impressed with this so far. This is really the first projects I've done with this. So I'm just cutting the width of the little table so far, using the appropriate safety eyewear there. So as you can see, the table is a lot longer than the original table that I was using. So I'm going to investigate in the van to see how long I want this table. It's way too long at the moment. That is far too long. So here I am, accurately measuring the length of the table there. Yeah, I'm just gonna whop it off with my hand, I think. And again, just put the old table in just to really give me a good sense of how big I want it. So this is the best way to do it, basically, just to put it in the van and see what space it takes up. So just a quick bit of measuring and set the table saw up. And time to lop off the end of the table. Right, so that's the small table cut to size. Now as you can see, I've got a bit more length on the table, which is going to be perfect. So it's onto the big table. Now the old one did fit under the kitchen unit at the back here, but the new one, I thought I'd get away with being a bit wider, but as you can see, there is no way on earth that is going to fit in there. So the new table is going to have to go on a bit of a diet and get a bit trimmed off the side, I'm afraid. And that is the lengths and the sizing of the table done. So I'm going to little plastic lid to get the radius of the corners. Now what's great about doing this from scratch is the fact I'm going to get the corners looking all the same, so they're all going to match, and I think that's going to look quite cool. So I go around, I do all of the corners. And then, as I say, it's on to a nice bit of sanding. There's quite a bit of sanding in the job, as there always is with woodwork anyway. So, those are looking really nice now. Time to look like a professional woodworker there. Am I blowing on the edge? Nice. So, I tackle all the corners. And that's everything cut to size and the corners all done. So this old push fit table leg was okay. It served its purpose, but it had the chance of being popped out. You could kick it out quite easily. So I'm going to secure this new table leg with these little screw-in. They're nuts, so they actually will take a bolt instead of a screw. So you can embed that, and they're really strong. You just have to drill a hole and embed them in there. They're really good. So just measuring out the centre there. And I have marked with a bit of tape just the depth of this, because I don't want to go all the way through, because I don't want a hole on the other side on the top of the table. So I'm being really careful here. Because this is a wood bit, it's got a spike right on the end, so I'm trying not to go through with the spike so there's no holes at all on the other side. And you just get the worst Allen key you can find. Now all you got to do is just Allen key this into the wood. They feel really strong, these things. But I can tell it's still a little bit high, so I need to drill a little bit more out. Again, just got to be really careful with it. It's worth taking your time on this bit. And then those all fit nice and flush into the wood. So I'm actually going to do another little bit of insurance on that. So I'm going to build a little something extra to help that nut there in the wood, which you'll see in a bit. So this is the new table leg. I think it's a bit of birch. I'm not really sure, to be honest with you. It came from an older stairgate, child stairgate, so I've recycled that. So I've got some a nice little bolt to fit in there. So I've just got to figure out a little system to actually get that bolt to sit on the end of this dowel here. Or the leg, should I say. So I've got this old curtain pole here, this is the original idea, was this curtain pole, and it fits nicely on the end of that leg, and I thought if I had that on the end, it would actually help to sort of captivate the bolt in there. But then I decided to scrap that idea, and I've got the end of an old tent pole instead, and it's got this little shoulder, and that fits perfectly on the end of the wood. So I changed up what I was going to do. So I'm just sawing the end off that. I do trim off the other end as well, so it's not quite so long. And nearly set fire to the wood. Bit of rain ears there. So I'm just chopping off the end here so I can make a little wooden washer. You'll see how this works in a second. So it's a nice tight fit, so we don't want that being loose. So as you can see, that will now slip inside of the end of that the old tent pole there. And because it's got a little shoulder there, it stops it, prevents it from coming out. And that's how that works. And that holds really nice and tightly. I'm really happy with this. I did have to put a small amount of tape on the inside just to get it really snug. And that just screws into the bottom of the table, and that's the table leg. It's a really good system. Like I said, I've got another bit here to do. There's going to be a little metal plate that's going to secure that nut in there really tightly. So it's time to sand everything down. This is preparing now for the vinyl wrap. So wipe everything down with a dry cloth first. As you can see, it's tons of dust now. I get a wet rag after this to get all the fine dust off there, because you don't want any dust at all, just to make sure your vinyl sticks really well. So as you can see, there's tons that comes off just on the wet wipe. And now it's time to get the vinyl wrap. I've gone for just a gloss white on these. I just thought I could not find a colour that I liked. I was going to match it up with the unit, but it cost too much for delivery of the vinyl for that one. Maybe I could rewrap these again at a later date. So it's a simple case of marking out, leave a little bit around the edge, just in case you veer off a little bit. And then make sure the vinyl is really square on your wood, otherwise if you veer off you'll just be so mad with yourself when you get to the end and it didn't fit. So you peel off the end and then flick it over and then stick on the first bit. Now this is quite a therapeutic thing to do, to be honest with you. It's really satisfying when it works well. The idea is to get the first bit stuck down really straight. Once that's straight, the rest of it should go on no problem at all. You get one of these little squeegee things. They're really handy, those. And it's just a case of peeling the backing off underneath and squeegeeing as you go. And I have to say, it is a pretty easy job, to be honest with you, doing the vinyl wrapping. It's not too bad. It's just the starting off of the vinyl wrap is the worst bit, because it wants to roll up. It's like whole job in life for vinyl wrap is to become a roll of vinyl wrap. So as you can see, it's looking pretty good already. So we've got to trim off the excess, and I'm going to do an extra move at the end after I've done this trimming, just to make it really good on the edge. You'll see that in a moment. So take your time to trim all the excess bits off. Now, as you can see, it already looks pretty good, but I wouldn't trust that trim from a Stanley knife. So if you go over with a bit of sandpaper at an angle in one direction away from the vinyl wrap, then you can just get a really nice sharp edge, and it just kind of like takes off all that last little bit of vinyl and pushes the vinyl really into the wood. And it creates just a slightly softer edge as well for your arms to rest on there. And as you can see, lots of just little bits of vinyl wrap just falling off. Do that all the way around and you get a really nice crisp edge. It really works nicely on those rounded corners. So that's looking really nice. I'm really happy with it. There's a couple of blemishes on the wood itself, which is really annoying. So now I'm going to do the same process for the little table. Now I've just got to cut out that little nut that I embedded in there, and now it's time to actually make the little metal plate. So I'm going to recycle a plate I've got from, it's the old overhead cupboard actually, because I really like the shape of this. It looks really quite smart, but it just needs a little bit of work. But that's how it's going to go, just on there, and that's going to, like I say, just secure that nut on there. And a bit of wire wool just to make it look all nice. And this actually came up really nice looking. It kind of gave it a nice little vintage look there, which I kind of kept a bit of that patina on there, and I thought that looked quite nice. So I'm just leveling it up. Got some nice round head brass screws, which look really nice on that. And it actually matches the brass screw which I used in the leg there. And just a quick test there, and that's really nice because that shoulder of that metal actually meets that metal plate, and so it won't damage the wood at all. So now on this bit I'm just making a couple of grab rails. This is just for the big table because it's quite heavy, so I wanted to make something to aid lifting it, because with the vinyl wrap it's really hard to lift up tables with vinyl wrap because it's so smooth. So I'm just smoothing everything off on these little grab rails. I've just got to remove all the hardware from the old tables now, and I'm going to transfer these onto the new tables. Now these are the grab rails which I just made, and these are just going to fit on the sides there. I've just got myself another little bat on there just to space it into the table correctly so that both sides look the same. Now these were a really good addition. They work so well. I'm so happy with these. And as you can see, that makes carrying the table super easy. So I think after that, all we've got to do now is roll the final shots. So let's see what they look like inside the van. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you'd like to consider liking and subscribing, that'd be great, and I will see you in the next video. Cheers!